What's up guys, Mike here, and in this video we're having a detailed look at the Samsung Galaxy S4 Mini. Pretty much all the high-end Android phones available these days come with large 5-inch screens. If you're interested in something smaller, more affordable and still snappy and good looking, the Samsung Galaxy S4 Mini should definitely be on your list. I've been using it for a few days and I actually came to like it a lot, and I'll tell you all about it in this clip. The S4 Mini has a 4.3-inch screen, and that's why I find it large enough for everyday activities, yet small enough so I can easily grab the phone and use it with only one hand. I've never been a sucker for Galaxy smartphones in the past, and this one is no different than most of the others. In fact, it is a miniaturized replica of the Galaxy S4. But the lightweight, the overall size and the rounded edges do make it feel great in hand. I actually found it more comfortable to use than the iPhone 5, which has been my daily driver for several months now. Design-wise, the Mini is a shrunken version of the S4, like I mentioned before. It has the exact same shape, the same metallic rim around the screen, the same buttons and pretty much the same features. A hyper-glazed plastic plate covers the back and it's removable, allowing you to easily access the battery. The SIM and microSD slots are placed underneath, so you will have to turn off the phone if you want to access those. And by the way, the S4 Mini will be available as a dual SIM option as well. Of course, the S4 Mini doesn't feel very sturdy and Samsung could have done a better job with their choice in materials. But if I were to get this phone, I'd definitely put a case on it, so the plastic should not bother me that much. Anyway, let's have a look around this device. A power button, a volume rocker, the headphone jack and a micro USB port are aligned on the edges, plus an IR blaster that allows you to use the Mini as a remote control for your various electronics around the house. The front face is dominated by the screen, with the classic set of buttons we've seen on Samsung Android smartphones in the last years. The physical home button, flanked by two capacitive controls. On top, there's the earpiece, the front-facing camera and some sensors. However, the S4 Mini lacks a notification LED, and many of you will find this annoying. It also lacks the IR sensor bundled by the larger S4, but more about that later. Let's turn our attention towards that screen. Samsung offers an AMOLED panel on the Mini, and not the pentile kind. As a result, it offers great contrast, viewing angles and truly deep blacks, plus rich colors, although a bit oversaturated for my liking, even when choosing the professional color mode. At the same time, they only went for a QHD resolution screen, which is a bit low and means that the S4 Mini's display is not going to be very sharp. Still, unless you have it next to a higher density screen and look at them from a really short distance, you'll probably never notice that. All in all, I'm quite satisfied with the screen on the S4 Mini. It's not the brightest, and that's why using it in strong light it's going to be quite painful. It's also not the sharpest or the most accurate when it comes to displaying colors. But as you can see from here, the content just looks vibrant on it, and that's why I'm sure many of you will like it as well. The panel itself is covered by a layer of Gorilla Glass that should keep it safe from scratches, but unlike the S4, this does not come with a hypersensitive screen, so it cannot be used with gloves and other objects. Anyway, you might have noticed by now that the S4 Mini runs Android with TouchWiz on top. We're talking about Android 4.2.2 here, and most of the features and apps we've seen on the larger S4 already, including many S-branded apps like S-Voice, S-Memo or S-Translator. But there are some missing though, as you'll find out soon. For now, just have a look at how snappy the Mini is and how smoothly I'm jumping through home screens and apps here. In some cases, it's even faster than its larger and more powerful sibling, and that despite packing much slower hardware. On paper, you're not going to be impressed by the S4 Mini, and nor when looking at benchmark results. But in practice, the S4 is snappy, extremely snappy I could say, as you can see from the next part of this clip. And it can handle more than the basics. It can play some of the latest games with very little stuttering, like GTA Vice City or Real Racing 3. And it can run all sorts of movies, including high bitrate MKV files, as you can see here. Still, there's one thing you should know. The Mini is only available with 8GB of storage space, and out of those only about 5 are usable for apps and other stuff. Of course, it can take microSD cards, but you cannot install games and apps directly on those. You can however move installed apps on the SD card, but that will not completely solve the issue, as you can only move parts of those on the external storage. Thus, if you plan on having many games on the S4 Mini, you'll quickly run out of storage space. Bottom point, I'm surprised by how smoothly this phone performs, and I definitely was not expecting that. But you should know that the Mini does lack some of the things offered by the larger S4, and those probably have something to do with the snappiness. For instance, you don't get as many gestures on the S4 Mini. Air gestures, air view or eye scrolling are just some of the ones missing, but iPhone 1 won't miss them much. Some air gestures are nice, I admit, but neither are something you can't live without. However, I sure wish multi-window was present on this phone, that would allow you to run through different apps at once. And applications like the optical reader or S-Health are missing too. In fact, the S4 Mini lacks the extra sensors embedded on the S4, like the pedometer, barometer or thermometer. However, it does match its larger kin in terms of connectivity options and adds something on top, an FM radio app that only works with the headphones connected. Speaking about that, Adapt Sound is present on the Mini and it will make a difference if you're patient enough to set it right. All this aside, the Galaxy S4 Mini can handle the basic phone tasks as well. I've had no problems taking and receiving calls on this phone, even when in slightly noisier conditions, and the SwiftKey Power keyboard helped me with my texting. Alright, based on what I've told you so far about the Mini, it really looks like an awesome device, right? But hold your horses, there is one area where it fails to impress: camera performance. There's a 1.9 megapixel front camera on this one that can take decent 720p clips, although they are not very sharp. The main 8 megapixel camera rests on the back with flash. The Samsung also bundles a feature-stuffed camera interface with filters and plenty of manual options and shooting modes, much like on the larger S4. However, things like dual shot, animated photo or drama shot are missing from the Mini. Anyway, the pics coming out of this main shooter are decent but not great. As long as you take pictures in good light conditions, the results are alright, although once again not very sharp. However, using the Mini indoors or in poor light will result in very grainy images and in many cases a struggle to get the camera to focus properly. The Mini can also take 1080p 30 frames per second clips. They fail to impress as well, and it's worth mentioning that there's no image stabilization on this handset, so the results can get somewhat shaky. Anyway, before we get to wrap this up, let's talk about the battery life. The S4 Mini comes with a 1900 mAh battery, the easily replaceable kind. With average use, that's enough to keep the phone running through the day with something to spare when you go to bed at night. With light use, the Mini can go for 2 days and maybe even a bit more. The handset also offers a power saving mode if you want to squeeze more out of your battery, but be careful, this dims the screen and lowers the overall performances of this handset. All this being said, the S4 Mini is a phone to consider if you don't want to pay premium for a high-end smartphone or if you just want a smaller device that can still offer plenty for the money. The Mini is not very cheap, but it's still about 20 to 30% more affordable than the heavyweight Android phones of the moment. Of course, the S4 Mini is not without flaws and not without rivals. The Nokia Lumia 820, the Sony Xperia SP or the future HTC One Mini and iPhone 5S or whatever they decide to call the more affordable iPhone will put a fight later this year. But for the time being, if you can live with the lower resolution screen, the poorer camera and the small storage space, the S4 Mini looks like a winner. In fact, I liked it so much that it would probably be at the top of my list if I were to switch to Android in the near future. But how about you? What do you think about the S4 Mini? Would you buy it? Please leave your replies below, and if you have any questions or things to add to this review, leave a comment as well. With that in mind, it's time to end this clip. Thanks for watching, and as always, if you found this useful, hitting the thumbs up button and sharing it will be greatly appreciated. I for one will catch you in the next videos, and in the meantime, make sure to check out my full S4 Mini coverage on the channel, you'll definitely find some interesting clips there. See you later.